name's Christine, aka CraftiPotential, and I'm a crafter for Tonic Studios, and today I'll be showing you how to make the gorgeous Timeless Teapot Fairy House from the Enchanted Dwellings die collection from Tonic, which is a double A4 die set. So the first things that we're going to need to be able to create this Timeless Teapot, which is a smaller version of the original teapot that Tonic did a few years back, you're going to need 8 side pieces for the top and the bottom. So the bottom of the teapot is actually this piece, which also creates the top of the mushroom. So it's one of those double die sets that can do 2 different constructions. So you're going to need 8 of these plus 2 of the octagons that actually create the bottom of our teapot in this case. And then you're also going to need 8 of these pieces, which is actually the bottom of the mushroom, but this creates the top of the teapot. So again, it's one of those double action sort of dies. And for this top piece, we actually don't need the bottom glue tab here. So we're just going to use our long bladed pair of scissors to snip that off. Really easily, just following the score line across there with our scissors. Then, obviously, before we start constructing, we need to pre-fold all of our score lines in our side panel pieces. So, for the top portion of the teapot, this piece wants to fold towards you, and we want to burnish that with our glide folder. The bottom tab wants to fold away from you, and then we want to fold all of those glue tabs down the side as well, and again burnish them with our glide folder so we've got a nice crisp fold for when we're putting this all together. And I'll repeat this process again for another panel, and I've already folded all of the other ones ready just to save a little bit of time. So we've got all of those pre-folded and burnished ready, and we want to do the same for the bottom of the teapot as well. So I've already done the majority of them, but these, they're all just folding away from you for this one, so it's nice and easy this to do. Oh, and you might notice on these pieces, Tonic have been introducing this new thing where they have a semicircle glue tab and a tiny little square, which I was talking to Karen, and these aren't supposed to be glued. You can glue them if you want to, it doesn't make much of a difference, but they're actually just supposed to be there to kind of hide a gap between the 2 glue tabs, and it works perfectly. You get like the most seamless joining of the 2 panels when you've got this extra little tab in there, so it's really handy to have that in there on this one. It gives you a really nice seamless curve to the bottom of your teapot, and you'll see that when we're putting it together. So now we've got all of those pre-folded and ready, we can start by building the bottom of our teapot. So we're going to need our little octagons here. If we have one of them, we'll leave the other one to the side for now. That's going to go on the inside of the teapot just to hold all the glue tabs into position. But for this octagon, we're taking this small glue tab at the bottom, we're adding a little bit of adhesive onto there, and then we're gluing it onto the side of the octagon. So really, really simple, just going to go all the way around with all 8 panels, joining them to the bottom of that octagon. Then once they're all glued into position, we can flip this over, take our second octagon panel and add glue all over the back of this one, and then just use that to secure all of those glue tabs inside the base of our teapot house. Then, whilst the glue on that is curing a little bit, we can start on the top portion of our teapot. I have done mine in 2 different colours just to give it a little bit of a different look, but it also helps with kind of differentiating for you what is the top and what is the bottom of the teapot as well. So, for this, I was finding gluing this bottom section together was the easiest. So this tiny glue tab here, go round and join all of those together. So you've got 8 of them again because it's an octagonal box, and you're just going around with this bottom straight glue tab that's here and joining all of those together. Then once you've got to the last one, you can join that back onto the first one to create our octagonal piece. And again, we want to leave this to nicely dry so that it's nice and firm for building the rest of the top of the teapot. And while that is drying, we can go back to the bottom of the teapot and start building this up as well. So these portions of the teapot are going to be curved because it's the bottom curved portion. So you could have done this beforehand, or sometimes it's a little bit easier just to do it afterwards. It doesn't need too much of encouragement, but just like use your glide folder on that curved edge and run it across the palm of your hand just to give it a slight curvature, and then go round the whole bottom of it, just creating that slight curvature in here. It will depend on what thickness of card that you're using. I'm using the 216 GSM from Tonic, the textured cardstock, but if you are going with a heavier cardstock, you might want to have done this beforehand so you can really get a nice curve on that before you stick everything together. But with the 216 GSM, it's quite easy to do it after you've already stuck those bottom panels together. Then the next step is to start to build that curvature by sticking the panels together. So we're going to take our wet glue, and I'm only going to put it on the semicircles, but you can do it on all of the tabs if you want to. But I'm going to go along those little semicircles there, and then I'm going to flip it back over this way, and I'm going to work with from the bottom one first, pressing from underneath and from on the top as well to get a nice firm bond between the semicircle and the side panel. And then just working my way up, pressing on the semicircle from behind and then pressing from the front of the panel next to it as well. And then we've got a nice curved join between the 2 panels, and having those extra little glue tabs in there, those tiny little square ones, has really made a perfectly seamless join there. There's no gaps between any of those glue tabs, which looks fantastic. So I'll do another one with you and then I'll speed up doing the rest of them. So again, we're just going to put a little bit of glue on all of the semicircles. Then move that back underneath and then work our way up the curvature, pressing firmly from underneath onto the semicircle tab and then pressing from the top as well to make sure you get a nice firm bond. And again, we've got our gorgeous curved side. So I'll continue doing this and come back when I've finished. So I thought I'd come back for the very last panel just to show you a little trick of how to get the glue on those glue tabs. You can just like push it forwards like this and then come in with your glue, or you can bend those glue tabs backwards on themselves so they're more inside the box and then use your glue onto those. And then again, we're working from the narrowest side, pressing from the inside and the outside, and then working all the way up to the top. Okay, so there we go. We have got the bottom of our teapot all built and ready, and we actually create the bottom and the top separately and then join them together. So we can leave this now to properly dry whilst we go back onto the top of our teapot, which goes this way up, and we're going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing of just putting glue along all of the glue tabs, gluing it together, and then, you know, waiting for the glue to dry. So if we go with the semicircle glue tabs, leave this top one for now, but put your glue on all of those semicircular glue tabs. And then this does have a slight curvature to it, not so much that you need to like add a curvature using your glide folder, but just when you're putting it together, it does sort of slightly curve a little bit as you're working your way up, just very, very slight sort of curve on it. So press those all into position from underneath and from the top, just as we did with the bottom of the teapot. And then once you've got that sort of slightly curved piece together, then I recommend doing the top portion here. And because the top of this is slightly narrower, as we're working around this, sometimes it is nice to secure that with a peg just to make sure that it's going to stay in the exact right position, so when we come to make the lid is going to fit on really nicely. And also if we're trying to put our hand inside, we don't want to accidentally pop one of them open and it glue in a weird position as well. So I'll do another one with you, and then I will do the rest of them off camera and come back to you. So again, glue on all of the glue tabs, start from the bottom, press one of those together from the inside and the outside, and then just follow that slight little curve as you're gluing all of those tabs together. And then once you've got that slight curve done, you can do the top piece as well. Making sure you wipe off any excess glue before it dries. And then peg that into position. So I'll do the rest of them and then come back. So now we've got the top section of our teapot constructed, we can leave that to dry, and while it's drying we can move on to the lid portion of the teapot. So there are a few bits and pieces for creating the lid. For the handle of the lid, you actually only need 2 of these pieces. In the instructions it does tell you that you need 8, but that's a typo there. You do only need 2 of these to create your handle. So we'll pre-fold those in a second. Then for the lid of your teapot, you're going to need 2 of these tiny little octagons and 8 of the side panels to create your teapot lid. So very similar concept to the bottom of the teapot, where you need the octagons and then 8 of the panels as well. Plus you can also put a decoration between the teapot lid and the handle, creating this beautiful flower. And on the one that I'm recreating, I actually did 2 flowers. So I've already put one together, and I'll show you how easy it is to put the other one together as well. And then when it gets time to assemble them all together, I'll show you how quick and easy that is to do as well. So for the handle of our teapot lid, you need 2 of these pieces, as I said before, and you need to pre-fold them all, so they're going to fold together really nicely when we come to stick it all together. So if you just go round, fold all of the sides against the octagon first, and then once we've done that, we can fold all of these sides here. Now you do want to be accurate with your folds for this, so you know, take your time, don't rush it and pre-crease it in the wrong place. Just make sure you're going down that crease line that the die gives you, and get a nice firm burnish on that, and then you can fold over these end pieces as well. This is just how you're going to attach it onto the top of your teapot lid, and it's actually very easy to do with hot glue. You can definitely do it with wet glue as well, but I found hot glue was really super easy, and it's going to make sure that the handle is very secure on the top of your box as well. So once you've got both of these pre-folded, you actually want to stick them both together but offset from each other, so you're ending up with the 8 sides of your octagon. So we can just add glue onto the octagonal portion of one of them, and then we can place the other one on top, making sure that the sides of the top octagon match up with those fold lines of the other sides of the one below, and the same on this side too. Just make sure you can fold them down nicely still and you're not overlapping it too much to one side. Then once you've done that, really simple, we're just going to add glue to all of these side tabs, and they're perfectly sized and shaped so that they're going to fold round and in really nicely. So we're just going to fold all of those sides in, pinching from the inside and the outside to get a nice firm bond. Wipe away any excess glue if it squidges out, and just keep going all of the way round. So this is going to be a really nice strong handle, because each of the sides is going to end up with a double thickness of card from the size of this glue tab going underneath the previous panel as well. So just keep adding glue and going all of the way around. As you get more towards the last few, fold these glue tabs outwards, and it just helps you get your fingers in there to be able to pinch them. If you can't get your fingers in there to pinch it, you can definitely press from the outside and then use your glide folder to press from the inside. And you can use sort of like the straight line from the glide folder to go up against that little score line in there. And then the final one, we can press that into place, and just folding those little triangular glue tabs outwards just helps you be able to press from the inside nicely. So we've now got the lid, and then we can push all of these back in, because that's what we're going to use to attach it. Sorry, we've got the handle for the lid, not the lid. So there's the little handle. Then for the lid of this box, again, we need our 8 panels, and we're going to pre-fold these. So I've already done the majority of them, and all of these are folding away from you. So you've got the professional side that you've cut towards you, and then you just fold all of those score lines away from you, making sure they're nice and precise. Then there are 2 ways of building this lid. You can, if you want to, stick them all together like this with those long side panels, and you don't even have to bother with this top piece here. Or you can build it the same way as the bottom of the teapot, stick them all to this little top panel, secure it with another one from the inside, and then glue all of the side tabs, which is how I built my first one. So I will show you that way of building it this time. So we can just put a little bit of glue on a few of these tabs first, because they're very small tabs and it'll be quick to attach them, so the glue's not going to dry before we get to them. And we're just going to place them on the sides of our little octagon. So it's definitely a much smaller scale than the bottom of the teapot. And you can just press them all into position. Then once they're all stuck on, we can flip that over and add our second little octagon on top, just to really secure all of those tiny little glue tabs onto that top octagon. Just making sure they're a nice firm bond. And while that is drying, we can move over to the flower. So you want 4 of these to create a single flower with 8 petals, and all you want to do for this is literally put glue on the octagon and then put these 2 perpendicular to each other, so you've got like 12, 3, 6 and 9 on a clock, and then just put the next 2 in the opposite positions to fill in your flower. So really, really simple. And having these pre-made just with wet glue is going to help when we stick it all together with hot glue too. And you can put as many or as few of these flowers on the lid as you want. I'm actually going to do 2 on mine, and I found it's really easy to mould those petals once it's all stuck together, so you don't have to mould them at this point. You can just you know, do this to them after they're all stuck together. So we can leave those now and go back to our lid. The glue should have dried enough on this, and now we can add glue to all of these long tabs and then press them together, making sure this is all lining up here. So you've got the cut line of this panel, the fold line of this panel, and then you're looking at this fold line going all the way around here as well, just making sure that they're all lining up with each other. And then once all of these glue tabs have stuck, we can join those bottom pieces together, and I'm going to hold them into position with pegs again to make sure they're nicely secured. And then while the glue is all drying on those, we can add our flowers and our handle on top of the lid using a little tiny bit of hot glue. So I added the pink flower first, and I actually added this one offset to the octagon that's on here. So we can add this with a little bit of hot glue on the back of that octagon piece and stick that on top. Then take our second flower, again a little bit of hot glue just on the back of that octagon, and offset these so the petals go in between the ones that are already there. We just want to make sure that that's still nicely in the centre. And then we can just take our handle, poke those glue tabs in a little bit, and we can actually put more hot glue on this because it's all going to sort of go inside as we press this down. So we can put a nice dollop of glue on there and then line this up with the octagon of that top flower. Press that firmly into position. And there we've got our finished little lid. Once that glue has properly cooled down, we can mould the petals of the flower. But in the meantime, we can go back to the bottom and the top of our teapot, and we can join these together now. So the glue is completely dried on these. We can take all of this off. And for this one, it is a little bit easier to use red liner tape for this. You might want to reinforce it with glue as well, depending where you live and like how likely red liner tape is to pop open. But I found red liner tape has got that instant grab to it, and it makes it really nice and simple to get the top and the bottom to join together nicely. So we can just add a piece of red liner tape to each of these glue tabs. You could definitely have done this beforehand if you wanted to as well, before you started putting it together. And before you start putting it together, you can also stamp onto all of your pieces, or use Nuvo onto them, or create some kind of design onto them as well. You don't just have to build it from a solid colour of cardstock. You can definitely play around with how you decorate this as well, because there aren't actually any full decorative panels to go on here. You have got some partial decorative panels that you can use, or smaller dies that you can add onto there as well, or I'm going to show you another way of using glitter to create different designs on here too. But if you wanted to do a little bit of stamping, you can definitely do that before you put it all together as well. So I'm just going to trim off the excess of these bits of red liner tape. Now personally, I find that I like to fold the glue tabs inwards and take off all of the backing of the red liner tape. You might want to do it a couple at a time if you're not as experienced with constructing, but I do like to have them all off, so it just makes it a little bit of a quicker process and you're not trying to remove them once this is already on there. but again, you could use wet glue rather than red liner tape. Maybe use red liner tape for the first 2 glue tabs that I'm going to show you, and then use wet glue for the rest of them. It's kind of up to your style of construction, but I do like to have all of the tape backings taken off for this next step. So what I like to do for this is pick a side, so I'm going to go with this one, and pick a side of this here, and fold this upwards. So 1 glue tab we're folding upwards, and then we're going to press them together nice and firmly. We're lining up the cut line of the lighter purple to the fold line of the darker purple on that glue tab, and now we have got that first initial one. Then I want to go opposites, so I'm going to fold this one up, and I'm going to go opposite and do the opposite from the top of the teapot as well, and then I'm going to go opposites from the inside. So you can, it's probably a little bit difficult to tell, but I'm going to put my hand inside and press the opposite 2 tabs to the 2 that I've just glued on, and line that up nicely, and then opposite again, and then do all of the in-between ones, just pressing them from the inside and the outside. And there we have our teapot all constructed together. So this is the shape that the teapot gives you. You could maybe turn it into something else the other way up as well, whatever your imagination sort of shows you when you look at something like this. But this is the base of our teapot. And then while we've been constructing that, the glue has dried nicely on our lid. So we can take all of these little wooden pegs off and reveal our finished lid, which can go really nicely on the top of our teapot. And you can see how I've alternated the colours. We've got the lighter purple for the handle and for the top section, and then we've got the lid and the bottom section in the slightly darker purple. And then this is the point where you can shape the petals of these little flowers up here as well. So you don't have to have done it beforehand, you can shape them afterwards, which is quite nice. And you can make them go in different directions as well. Maybe shape the bottom ones going upwards and the top ones going downwards, just to make a little bit of a difference in here as well. And you can remove any strings of hot glue on there too. So that is the main body of the teapot finished, but to turn this into a teapot we need a handle and a spout. So that's the next step of creating this. So for the handle of the teapot, you have both handedness of your handle, which is really lovely. It's going to look professional from both sides of it. So you need one of each of those, and they've actually got different glue tabs on as well. And I've already put a decorative panel on here too. You get this little solid one here. There's also intricate panels as well, which I have used on my finished one, that you could also stick on at this point, or you could stick them on afterwards too. But for the handle you need one of each of these, plus you also need this piece here. Now for when I was constructing mine, I actually decided to use 2 of these pieces and stick one on the inside and one on the outside, so that when you look at the teapot from all different angles, you've got like a finished piece on the inside where you can't see those glue tabs as well. But it's entirely up to you how you actually want to put this together. But I'm going to show you the way where I've used 2 of these pieces, and so one of them I have covered in some red liner tape to make this a much easier and simpler process. And then for the spout of the teapot, you're going to need one of each handedness again, and you get both of them, so it's going to look really lovely from both sides. Plus you're also going to need one of this piece, which is the sort of solid panel that creates this outside area. And again, I decided to use 2 of them, one with red liner tape on, one without. Actually, I might put red liner tape on the other one too. We'll see if red liner tape or glue is going to work better for that. So you need 2 of those for my method. Plus you need this piece here as well. This is actually called back support piece, and I wasn't sure what this was to begin with, but it is actually part of the teapot spout. So when you're cutting all of your bits and pieces out, this needs to match the colour of your teapot spout, and this is actually the piece that goes along here to make the spout look more solid rather than having an open piece to it. It's going to look nice and solid there. So those are the pieces that we need to create the handle and the spout. Let's start with the handle piece. So for this one we need to pre-fold these score lines on here, again using our glide folder to reinforce them a little bit. This one is actually a curve here, so it's a little bit harder to reinforce. We can't really press it down and press because it doesn't fold as nicely. You're going to have to do this one in midair. It's just got a slight curvature to it so that it will sit onto the teapot really nicely. And then we need to go round the perimeter of the handle and fold all of those glue tabs down as well. And then we can burnish those down so they've got a nice crisp fold on them too. So for my way of putting this handle together, just to make it a little bit easier to kind of form into that shape, I'm using one of these that's got red liner tape on, and I'm actually going to take my scissors, my long bladed pair of scissors, and just trim like a millimetre or two off of one side, just to make it a tiny bit smaller than the one that's going to go on the outside, just so that the glue tabs, when they butt up against this, they're not going to be wider than they're supposed to be. And that just a tiny little slither of a millimetre really helps. You can definitely use your guillotine to do that too if you'd rather. And then we're going to sort of manipulate this into more of a curved piece. And then we're going to do one side at a time. So we've got 2 strips of red liner tape on here, so we can just take one of them off and then start with one side of the handle that corresponds to that side that we've taken off the tape off of. And we're going to start at the top of the handle here, and we're just going to line up the end of that piece with the first glue tab there, stick it into position, and then we're going to curve this all the way around, pressing those glue tabs firmly into position as we go around. And you can see it's forming the side of this really nicely for us. It's giving us that gorgeous shape, and it's sort of making a solid handle. So we can keep following this all the way around. And then once we get to the end, we can see that we've got a little bit of excess on here. I didn't trim it to begin with because I knew that we were going to have an excess. So I wasn't sure exactly how much it would be. But we can just trim that off, nice and flush to that bottom semicircle there. So you can now see how the handle is coming together. Then you can take the other side off and repeat with the other side of the handle, making sure we start in the same place so that they line up really nicely together with each other. So we can start right there and then go down the handle, pressing them firmly into place from the inside of the handle onto that red liner tape. So we've now got that piece built like this. Then we also have these glue tabs here, so we want to secure those to each other. So we can fold one of them in, take our glue and add that on there, and then fold the other one in to finish this piece off nicely. And then on this side we can fold the little tab in, add our glue, and then secure the big tab onto that and press from the inside. You can again use your glide folder to get into that position as well, and sort of like hold it underneath there and press from the top to make sure you've got a nice bond between that glue tab. And then the final step is to finish this off and make it look neat by using the second strip. So you've got a score tab, a glue tab on this that you want to pre-fold, and this is designed to go into that little area there, which depending on how you do it is going to be easier because you probably would have stuck it in beforehand rather than trying to do this sort of method. But we can press that into there, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there from the other side just to make sure that is nicely stuck into there. So we've started off with that glue tab in there, and then I'm actually going to run a strip of red liner tape down the centre of this piece, and then I'm going to use glue on the outside edges. So we're going to go red liner tape right down the centre. There is already exposed red liner tape on the handle already from the other piece that we put on, but this is just going to make sure it's going to be a really nice firm bond. And then we can take our glue and actually just put it on top of all of these little semicircles coming down, as if we're using them just like a glue tab. But because we've already got the piece underneath, everything is already in the perfect position, and we don't have to worry about forming the handle as we put this final neat sort of piece on here. So we can now press this down, going all the way around, making sure it stays in a good position as we go down the handle, pressing nice and firmly, and then joining it right at the end. So we've now got a really nice, neatly finished handle with our gorgeous extra piece on the outside, which we can then add extra embellishment to as well, to give this a more of a decorative look as well. So that is the handle. And then for the spout of the teapot, we're going to do something very similar. And for the spout, I actually joined the two of them together first. So I used this back support piece and a little bit of wet glue on each of these, and it's actually going on the piece where there are no glue tabs. So we're going to start at the top of the spout, hold that into position, and then it's got a slight curvature to it, so you just want to make sure you're following that curve as you stick this piece down. And again, wipe away any excess glue if any squidges out. And then I want to stick the other side of the spout on the other side of this. And once that is glued together, we can then move on to the same process again. So we've got one with red liner tape, one without red liner tape. We want to take our scissors and just trim off again a tiny little slither of like 1 millimetre off the edge of this, just to make it a little bit thinner than the outside piece. And then we want to look at the shape of the spout. So the spout is going down here and then up here, so we want to kind of give this piece that sort of shape so that it's going to be really easy to follow as we're sticking all of the glue tabs on. Also, I forgot to tell you to pre-fold all of these beforehand, so we can pre-fold those now. I'd only done it for one of the panels, but we can pre-fold all of those glue tabs. These ones here are for attaching it onto your fairy house, and then these ones are for creating that smooth curvature using this piece. So now we've got that sort of curved into the same kind of shape, or this way up I think, because we want the glue facing outwards. We can do the exact same thing we did for the handle. Start with one side of this, removing the liner tape, and then lining up with the top of the spout and going all of the way down, pressing those glue tabs onto the red liner tape so that they're secured into position nice and firmly. And then we can repeat on the other side. We can start from the bottom on this side, pressing them firmly into position. And then we can finish off by adding this piece on the outside. I think there is probably enough red liner tape to hold this, so we'll just go with putting the glue on those semicircles for this one. So we'll just put the glue on all of the glue tabs. And then press that into position, holding it on both sides to make sure it's going on there straight. And then we can press to make sure we've got a nice strong bond. So we've now got our spout and handle for our teapot, which can go in whichever direction we want. They want to go opposite each other on the actual teapot itself, but you can have the spout on the right side or the spout on the left side, because there's going to be a staircase here for the front door, so you can kind of decide, do you want the spout this way or do you want the spout the other way before you stick your staircase on. And talking of the staircase, I'm going to show you how to construct that now as well. Plus I'm also going to show you a sort of seamless way to construct your front door. So if you want the door to be able to open, but you don't want there to be a hole inside your box, but you don't want to be able to see the little hinge of how it's sort of attached, the way you can do this is you can take 2 solid die cuts of your door and then 1 with your window, and it actually has a beautiful wood grain texture that debosses into there as well. You can take those 3 pieces plus the little door hinge as well, and you can actually secure these together in a way that this piece will be stuck onto your house, so it looks like the interior of your house is this dark pink colour, and then the hinge will actually be hidden behind this piece and sandwiched between a solid piece and the door, so it's nicely concealed and it's going to stay on there really nicely as well. So first thing you want to do is put some glue down one side of the spine and attach this to the back of one of those solid pink die cuts. Then, once that is in position, you want to fold that down in front of the door. Let me zoom you in a little bit closer. Fold it down in front of the door, add a little bit more adhesive onto there, not too much because you don't really want it squidging out. Then you can press the one that has got the die cut out of it on top of this hinge, lining it up with the solid one behind. So you will see a tiny bit of the hinge coming out of the side, but that's just going to make the door work really nicely. And then once you've got it like this, you can still see that hinge, but if you take another pink die cut and add glue to the back of this light pink one that's got your detail in, you're going to hide the hinge, and you're also going to add a solid backing behind your window as well that's cut into your front door. So there you've got your little front door with your concealed hinge in there, and you do also have tiny little elements to decorate your front door with extra little like hinge brackets, a door knocker, or a handle to open it as well. So you can actually completely decorate this with all of the little elements in the die set too. And then the final piece that we need to construct is the staircase leading up to our front door, and because the teapot has this big curvature on the bottom of it, we need to make a staircase that's going to go with that curvature. So you have all of the pieces in the die set to create this. You have this piece, or 2 of these pieces, that are the opposite of each other with the curves going in the opposite direction to go both sides of the teapot. So first of all you want to pre-fold all of these, so we can press those down, burnish them nicely, and pre-fold this one as well. So we've got these 2 pieces to go either side. We have this piece here which helps to secure the staircase together and secure it to your actual house as well, so we'll be using that in a minute. And then we also have this part which is the steps of the staircase, and it actually has a debossed detail into it as well, so you can use your mousses and Nouveau products to pick out that detail. And for this, all you want to do is fold all of these. I'm just going to fold them all away from me, and then as we figure out how the stairs goes together, we can burnish them back in the opposite direction to go up and down the stair treads as well. But it's just much easier to burnish them all in the same direction when you're not 100% sure which way they're going to fold. And then we want to do the side pieces as well. So we can just burnish all the way along that in one go, and same along the other side too. And I'm going to show you a little trick with this extra bottom side piece panel here. So this is an extra one of these side panels, and I find that this helps you get the staircase in the perfect position and also gives you a larger gluing area for sticking it to your house as well. So when we get to it, this piece will come into play. But for now, we're going to stick all of these together. So this is going to join onto the house, but actually it's going to join onto this piece. So this is going to be the top stair tread. So then this fold is still away from us, this one's still away from us, but this one now needs to come towards us. So we can burnish that one into position. So it's now going to go like this. And then this becomes the top of the next stair tread. And then you go like this. And then you bend this one away from you, or away from you. So you've now got the top stair tread, the second stair tread, and then the third stair tread as well. This is how it's all going to join together. And to secure this into position, you're just going to lift these top flaps up of the top stair tread, and then we're going to fold this one in and put adhesive on this one. And then fold this one down and stick this together. And do the same on the other side. So we're going to fold that one in and then fold the top one down. Then the next stair tread, we're going to repeat the same thing. So we're going to fold this one in and then this one down. So we fold that one in, put our glue onto it, move it into position, and then fold this one down. And we want to make sure they're at nice right angles to each other as we're going down, because they need to correspond to the right angles on this piece. And then the final stair tread, we're going to do the same thing. So fold this one in and this one down. So once that's all glued together and we've got our little steps like so, we want to add these side panels. Now this piece on the sort of side panel of the stairs ends up being at the bottom of the stairs. So this is how you want to stick them onto there. So you can see that they line up nicely with the stairs that we've already created. So if we take some of our glue, add it to those square pieces there, and then stick these side panels onto the edge of those steps. And then press them nice and firmly into position from the back. And then flip this over and repeat with the other panel, which goes in the opposite direction, and put the glue on the steps. And again, press that nice and firmly into place so that they're well stuck onto there. Then, for this bottom portion of the step, you have this tiny piece here, which gives you a little bit of extra support for that bottom of the staircase. And this tiny little glue tab sticks underneath that bottom step, just there. And then you fold these two pieces in from the two side panels, add a little bit of adhesive here, and then glue that together. And then this just gives a nice support to that bottom step that's going to be sat against the surface that the house is standing on. So that's going to give nice support there. Then the way it's designed is that this would then stick onto the house. However, when you go to put it onto the house, do you stick it so that the back is the same width as the front, or do you try and, you know, move it so that they go inwards like so? It's a little bit unpredictable about how you might stick this on. So I found the easiest way to make it really simple is to take another one of these panels and use it as a guide, so you know exactly the shape that this is supposed to be and you can stick it directly onto your house. So the way I was doing this is I was taking the panel, removing the bottom glue tab, and then going down the side and removing all of the side glue tabs as well. Then you can take this piece and kind of dry fit it into there to see how long it needs to be. So you can line that right up against the bottom, put all of those glue tabs into position, and then you can take your scissors and mark where it needs to be, and then you can trim this off. It doesn't matter how neat this is because you're not going to see it. It's just going to help you to attach it onto the actual fairy house. And then red liner tape is your best friend again, to add down the sides of this so that we're going to get an instant bond of our glue tabs onto here. And we can just put this back into position underneath those semicircular glue tabs, pressing it into position and securing those in place, one side at a time. And there we go. You're holding your stairs in the perfect position, so it's going to fit nicely into one section onto your teapot. It's going to go really nicely into that one section there. So now we've got all of our extra pieces. We've got our front door, we've got our stairs, we've got our spout and our handle. The next step is to add them onto our fairy house. And I found that hot glue was really nice for getting perfect security of putting these onto your box really nicely. So let's go with our stairs first. We don't want to add too much glue, but we just want to add enough so that we're going to get a nice bond with our hot glue. So we can just put a little bit of glue over the whole back of this, then pick one side of where we want our stairs to go, place it into position, double check that it's going to stand nicely, and there we've got our stairs onto there. Then we want to decide, do we want the handle on the right or the left and the spout on the right or the left? So I did my other one with the handle on the right and the spout on the left, so we'll do it the opposite way round. So we can do handle on this side, spout on this side. And if you look at the spout, it actually has a straight piece here, and the straight piece, well, it's straight, but it's at an angle. It's designed to go just there on the teapot, so you can kind of see exactly where it is supposed to fit. Now, on my original one, I did accidentally stick this a little bit wonky, so you want to make sure that it's going to be the same distance on both sides of that one singular panel when you push this on. So we want to add a little bit of hot glue to all of these glue tabs, or you can use wet glue if you want to as well. It will take a little bit longer to dry, you might have to hold it there for a little bit longer. But we do a little bit of hot glue on all of those glue tabs, and then we're going to press that into place, making sure it's sort of central and that we're in that right position. You can take the lid of the teapot off and press from the inside as well, just to make sure you're securely getting that hot glue to stick onto there as well. And you can, if you want to, if you don't feel like those glue tabs are touching the teapot, you can press from the inside with your glide folder, inside of the spout with your glide folder, to push those glue tabs down, and then press from the inside of your teapot as well to help get that to stick on there nicely. And that's much straighter than my original spout on there. Now, once you have put the spout on, it is making it lopsided, so you are going to need to add your handle on the opposite side to get that to balance again. And you can dry fit your handle first as well. You can see here, this slight curvature goes with that slight curve that was on the bottom of our handle, and then you have the flat piece that sort of sits up here. So you just want to eyeball first where it's going to be. You want it to be in the middle of that panel, you know roughly where it's going to sit on the teapot as well, and then you can add your hot glue onto the handle. And then press this into position. Again, pressing from the inside to make sure you've got a nice firm bond. And there we go, we've got our handle onto here as well. And we've got our lid, we've got our spout, and we've got our staircase, and it's standing up nicely because we've balanced it. And then the final thing to do for the bits that we've constructed together is to just put your door on here. But you can also add your windows, you can add floral decorations. There is a brick portion that you can add going up the base of the teapot as well, and you can also do other decorations as well. So if I bring in my original teapot, which is going in the opposite direction here, I have actually just used some of the decorative panels here to decorate the spout. I've used that sort of brick piece to do the bottom there. I've used some of the other decorative ones to go down the side of the handle and the inside of the spout as well. But to get all of these other decorations on here, I've just used my Nuvo glue with a fine tip bottle and some glitter, some Nuvo glitter, and I kind of think it sort of gives the look that the fairy has decorated her own house herself. So you've got like little stripes of glue with glitter on and dots around the lid, and then all the way around here you've got like hand-drawn scallops. There's pink around the door and a little extra heart up here, and it's really simple to do. I'll show you on a little portion of the front of the house here, but all I did was run a bead of glue all the way along that join there, and then just drawing in 4 little arches per side piece of the teapot. And you can also go right up to here and draw your archway in as well. I did leave a little gap for the door, but I did need a little archway either side of the door as well. And you can also add a freehand sort of heart design on here as well, or you could die cut some double-sided adhesive and put that on there. You could use gems, sequins, whatever you want to decorate this. Then you can just take a piece of scrap paper and pick your glitters. I was using purple organza and candy pink, which are some of the Nuvo ones from a few years ago, and I'm sprinkling on the purple organza onto this scalloped design here, tipping off the excess. And then I've got a tip for removing the excess glitter after the glue has dried as well, but we can tip the purple organza back into the bottle, and then for the heart on the front of this teapot, and I also did around the door as well, I used the candy pink glitter. So I just sprinkle that on, tip off the excess, and put the rest back into your pot. And once you've finished decorating the whole house and the lid and everything in this way, wait for the glue to completely dry. Probably an hour is long enough, but you could definitely leave it overnight if you wanted to. Then bring in one of these little Nuvo blending brushes, and once the glue has dried, this is perfect for brushing off any of that excess glitter that may have got statically clung to different areas when you've added it onto there as well. So a top tip for removing those bits of excess glitter. But I hope you've enjoyed this construction sort of style video showing you how to create the beautiful Timeless Teapot Fairy House from the Enchanted Dwellings die collection, which is a double A4 die set that gives you 3 different options of different fairy houses that you can create. But in this video I showed you the Timeless Teapot design. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video.